No one could save the dying CEO until a single dad veteran stepped forward. The hospital room was silent, except for the steady beep of the heart monitor, each pulse a fragile whisper against the odds. Evelyn Mercer, the powerhouse behind a billion-dollar tech empire, had spent her life climbing the ladder, making decisions that shaped industries and sacrificing everything for success. But now, in the sterile white of the ICU, stripped of her titles, her wealth, and her control, she was vulnerable, frighteningly so. Doctors had tried every procedure, every drug, every experimental treatment, and yet nothing worked. Her body was failing, and even hope seemed like a distant luxury. Then he walked in. Mark Donovan, a man whose life had been shaped by service, sacrifice, and heartbreak. A former Army medic turned single father, Mark knew the fragility of life better than anyone. He wasn't there as a consultant or a specialist. He was there simply because he could help in a way no one else could. Mark's blood, enriched by antibodies developed over years of surviving trauma and infection in combat zones, was his gift to the world. The doctors were skeptical, hesitant to rely on a non-professional's blood, but desperation outweighed protocol. With careful consent and trembling hands, they administered the transfusion, praying it might give Evelyn a fighting chance. At first, nothing happened. The room felt heavier, the air thicker, and Evelyn's chest rose and fell with a troubling irregularity. Mark stayed by her side, holding her hand even though she was unconscious, talking to her softly about ordinary things, about sunsets and rainstorms, about his daughter Lucy, who had drawn pictures of superheroes for her dad's patients, and about the small joys he clung to even in the darkest days. Slowly, imperceptibly, the monitors began to shift. Her heartbeat stabilized. Color returned to her cheeks. It was as if life itself was finding a foothold again, guided by a quiet, unassuming hero. When Evelyn awoke, the first thing she saw was Mark sitting in the corner of her hospital room, wary but vigilant. She blinked, disoriented, grappling with the unfamiliar sensation of weakness in her body, a world outside the corporate battlefield she had always controlled. Gratitude welled up, so did vulnerability, a feeling she rarely permitted herself. Mark's eyes met hers, kind but steady, and in that moment, she realized the depth of the human connection she had been missing in her relentless pursuit of success. Recovery was not easy. Evelyn had to confront the fragility she had always ignored. Simple tasks felt monumental, and she struggled with her own pride, hesitant to accept help from anyone. Mark, patient and unwavering, guided her through physical therapy sessions, quiet conversations, and even moments of laughter that she hadn't allowed herself in years. In turn, he shared the struggles of single parenthood, the nights spent consoling a frightened child after nightmares, and the weight of a life lived in service but often unseen. Their friendship grew organically, built on trust, shared vulnerabilities, and the slow realization that they had both been missing something vital: compassion, understanding, and human warmth. One night, months later, Evelyn found herself in Mark's modest apartment, sitting on the worn couch, watching Lucy draw a comic about the super dad who saved a hero. Tears prickled at her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Mark shrugged, brushing a strand of hair from his daughter's face. "You don't need to. You fought your own battles, too. Maybe I just gave you a little time to see them." In that moment, Evelyn understood that life's greatest victories weren't about acquisitions or accolades, but about connection, courage, and the quiet heroism of ordinary people. The challenges didn't end there. Evelyn returned to work, determined to rebuild her company, but with a new perspective. She began implementing programs for veterans, single parents, and employees struggling with health crises, inspired by Mark's humility and resilience. Meanwhile, her bond with Mark deepened into something more profound than friendship. A partnership built on mutual respect, healing, and the recognition that love often arrives in the unlikeliest of forms. By the time Evelyn gave her first major speech back at the company, she wasn't just speaking about profits or growth. She spoke about gratitude, compassion, and the unexpected ways people can touch each other's lives. In the audience, Mark watched silently, proud yet unassuming, a quiet hero whose simple act of courage had saved not only her life but opened her heart. And Evelyn, who had spent a lifetime controlling everything, finally understood that the greatest power lay not in her boardroom decisions, but in the human capacity to give, to forgive, and to love. In the end, no one could save the dying CEO until a single dad veteran stepped forward. But what his blood healed went far beyond the body. It healed her heart, and in doing so, it reminded her, and all who heard their story, that true heroism is measured not by wealth or titles, but by the courage to care, the strength to sacrifice, and the generosity to bring light into someone else's darkness.